let me start firing off some questions because I want to get everybody's comments and questions kind of firing up while we have you here. Driving for dollars.
Yes.
Right. There's been a huge jump forward in the amount of details, the amount of data that comes with Deal Machine when you find a property, when you're just driving around. What are people overlooking? You know what I mean? People say, okay, is it owner-occupied? Is it not owner-occupied? Does it have equity, right? You show if it has equity or not, so you know if this is a deal or not. What are some of the things that people are finding important or maybe we just don't know about?
Yeah, and that's something, I mean, data especially, that's something we are doubling down on as a team. You'll see us continue to enhance that, so make sure to stay in the loop on, I mean, I know you consistently update your audience on what's going on our side as well, but that's something that we're always focused on improving for that reason, because that data is going to give you an edge as a real estate investor.
Of course.
So I think in general, there's a couple of specific tactics that you can use within the Deal Machine app if you're actually out there in the field driving that I think might be overlooked or might be lesser known. One of those would be the highlight button within Deal Machine. I know that's something that not everybody quite knows about.
Yeah.
But when you actually get out there, you take out your phone, you lock onto your location. You have an option right within there to press highlight and then filter down according to our database to say, hey, show me properties that fit XYZ data. And being able to do
distressed lists?
So it would be think of layering a list on top of Driving for Dollars from that perspective.
Like what?
So you could say, I mean, absentee is great, high equity is great. Like there's a lot of different pieces there. Vacant, yeah. You can use a lot of those kind of quick list shortcuts right within the app as well. We can have it teed up for you. We've got like 7 or 8 options of what you can highlight around you. But just simply starting there to identify where in the neighborhood would be a great place to start driving around, because you don't want to just rely on that. Like that's the whole point of Driving for Dollars, is to find those distressed properties, those diamonds in the rough that you can't just buy that list. Yeah. So start there. Use that highlight button to start and kind of guide you on an area. Yeah. But if you're driving by a property,
so this is because I get this question a lot from students. Where should I start driving for dollars?
I mean,
you know what I mean? Yeah. So you say. You can click a button where you're at, and then do a highlight, and it's going to show you what areas you should be going to.
Yeah, and you highlight according to that overall criteria, but based on
I mean, we do everything, so my team's driving all over the place. But for somebody just starting out, they're wondering, where should I go? Where's the lowest hanging fruit?
And I think that's one great way to begin. I mean, we definitely recommend and say, hey, look at things like local Facebook groups or go to local meetups. Like really kind of understand where are the real estate investors investing. Yep. Especially if you're going to wholesale, you know that's an area that they're interested in already, and that you can go in and find those diamonds in the rough. Especially if they're pulling a list of an area, you can say, hey, let me fill in that area, the places that aren't just popping up on a list, and find those properties too. Yep. But I think that highlight button is a great place to start to be able to say and figure out, okay, where should I be going? And then based on that, you can look at that property, and if it fits every other criteria, it's already lit up in the app. Then on top of that, if it's distressed, then you have if it's a fixer upper for whatever reason, you have a very high probability to motivate a seller at that point.
Awesome. How many addresses around the country? You guys have all the data. How many addresses do people have to build into their Driving for Dollars list to get a deal?
Yeah, and that is something I think that number is always evolving. That's something where, Driving for Dollars, I know you brought me on saying...
Sound very political right now. What? just hit us with an answer.
Yeah. Well, okay, so shortcut.
Yes.
I want to explain the context, because I don't want to say
I get it.
Want to give people the real info here. Yeah. But I'd say if you're in the Midwest, 200, that 200 mark is really kind of the initial first deal formula that we talk about.
That seems low.
It's pretty low.
200.
That's on
low.
average.
Okay.
I think that's the number
in the Midwest.
In the Midwest.
Okay.
So if you're looking at a market like that, that's kind of the if you look at our general data set around where people first see success, traditionally that's what we're seeing.
Okay.
Again, that number's evolving. Driving for Dollars, I know the subject you brought me on is like, hey, is it dead? It's not dead, but it is getting more competitive. Okay. It is evolving. Okay. Doing things like applying TTP, applying what you're teaching to them is what's going to give them the competitive edge. Sure. Like being able to come in and find those great deals, or create their own list that you can't just pull, that is not nearly as competitive because of that, and then applying things like, your scripts, the tone, all 3 lessons you're talking about today, all of that is what's going to take them to that next level to succeed.
Love it.
And we even see, like, I'm in town for an event where it's some of the highest volume.
Yeah, Collective Genius.
Yeah, Collective Genius.
Yeah.
Highest volume real estate investors in the entire country.
Yeah.
They will tell you driving for dollars is still their best bang for their buck. It's a matter of scaling that strategy, but that is where the ROI is coming from. So Midwest, I would say 200 is where it is now. But again, going into the Deal Machine app, if you're gonna do a free trial or get started, aim for a couple hundred properties. I'd say that, especially in the first month.
Mike, what do you got? Do you have a question?
I just want to drive home. So I'm a new wholesaler. Right? We all the time we talk about how 80% of wholesalers get their first deal driving for dollars.
Yeah.
I just really want to drive home. I feel like that's because it's an exclusive list. You just can't go pull it somewhere, which means less competition, easier conversations. I mean, would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, without a doubt. Not only that, Mike, but like literally the phone prospectors love the driving for dollars list. They just love it. It's just not as beat up. They get higher contact rates because people aren't getting blown up all the time. Now listen, driving for dollars is beautiful because it kind of hits all of the lists, right? It hits the code violations, hits the pre-foreclosures, hits the vacants, hits the probates, hits all of these things. I mean, all of them you find in the driving for dollars list, but nobody has the same list.
Yeah, and you can come onto those conversations too, where when you actually get in touch with the owner, you've had the context of either you or a driver physically driving by, and you can talk about like, hey, I was driving by, noticed X, Y, Z.
Right.
Like you have that extra context that pulling a list will not give you.
Got it. Love it.
But yeah,
all right, Midwest 200.
Yeah, I would say the most competitive markets we're seeing.
Yes.
That can be all the way up to 1,500.
1,500. Okay.
So. Yeah, like a California Phoenix. I mean, Phoenix it's crazy. So I'd say that is the level that you're gonna have to hit consistently to land those deals over and over again. To achieve that, that's where we talk about bringing on a driving team. That's why we talk about putting processes in place that you don't have to drive that much you personally.
Well, the beautiful thing here's the thing. On every other list, and I just told it, and this is nationwide. You need to talk to 200 people to get a deal. That's the average, right? And typically a 10% contact rate is strong. So out of 1,500 in Phoenix, 10% contact rate is 150 addresses. You're getting a deal every 150 addresses as opposed to 200 addresses. So you're shaving off 50 other conversations that you would need to have. This is something you got to think about all the time as you're tweaking, as you're growing, especially as you're bringing on new people onto your team. How do we get more results out of less efforts? It's by getting very specific niche list. I'm telling you, it is who you're going after. It's the target market, and you're shaving off 50 conversations right there.
Yeah, and like
50 conversations
more
is probably
qualified.
4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, more qualified conversations.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Potential higher intent.
So 200 to 15. Is it price point really? Is it like 200 is lower price points under $100,000 properties, and then 1,500's these $350,000, $450,000, $500,000 properties?
Yeah, and that kind of goes with the market too. So the Midwest, you're looking at a market that's going to be less competitive. Going to have you're going to have lower dollar like that. So yes.
Now I don't send out the mail from Deal Machine, but I know a lot of people do, and I know people have had a lot of success sending out the mail there. What percentage-wise of people that drive for dollars or use Deal Machine are sending the mailers as well? Because I know a lot of them are calling.
Yeah.
A lot of them are taking those addresses, getting the phone numbers, calling them, and getting right to them. But a lot of people, maybe they're just doing this part-time. Maybe they're just getting the ball rolling. They're sending out the mailers so that somebody calls them. They don't have the time to prospect every single day. So for those people, what's the percentage of people that are sending mail?
Actually sending mail?
Yeah, because I'm curious. I mean, maybe we'll start. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, mail, I would say the majority of our successful members, they're using mail. The thing is,
majority.
Yeah, I would say mail is a crucial piece of a long-term marketing strategy. But I think combining that with what you're saying of, hey, cold call, text, like the immediate feedback loops, door knocking, things like that. That's where you're going to, especially as a newbie, especially just getting started, that's where you're going to get your initial feedback loop. And mail's main purpose in our mind is the long-term game. It's where you can say, hey, just set it and forget it. In the app, you can say, send a mailer once a month and put them on a campaign, an advanced campaign through the app. And that way you'll start to get these inbound calls over time where you've added so many properties to your deal machine app that when you consistently nurture them over time, you're giving yourself the opportunity to be able to have more at-bats than just the one-to-one contact.
Got it. How many mailers on average do people send out?
Oh, per account?
Yeah. No, I mean, you're typically not going to send out one mailer. They call you and you get a deal.
Oh, gotcha. To get to
like
that
how many?
conversation.
What is the rhythm? How many should people expect to send out? Because there's a consistency factor, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the follow through like that is what's going to separate you really in any sales job.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
the follow through is everything.
Yep.
So being able to give yourself a lot of nurture opportunities like that goes a long way. I think 3 to 6 is really kind of our initial recommended campaign.
Okay.
But I mean, we see deals all the time come from a year long plus. Of doing monthly postcards like that. So I'd say 3 to 6 is a good place to start and maybe budget for and say if I'm adding that many leads, then budget 55 cents a mailer times 6 mailers. Be able to think it through like that.
Yep. Good. Awesome. Should we crack this open? Do we have some comments, some questions yet?
So I just real quick. So we're talking about, does this still work? Does driving for dollars still work? The answer is yes, it works. But the idea is let's start kind of upping our game. So for example, the layering feature. Maybe start testing some mail, right? Things like that, right? Anything else? Any other specific edges that you could recommend to take this thing to the next level?
I think that marketing mix like that is absolutely crucial. I know like we just had somebody come on, Ramen, that we interviewed on our YouTube channel, a success story. He actually landed a $50,000. So again, not typical results necessarily. We're preaching long-term mindset here. But he did land a $50,000 wholesale deal in the 1 week trial of using Deal Machine. He went out there and just hammered the calls, texting, all of that immediate feedback.
I'm telling you,
channels.
That's how I got all my first deals.
Yeah.
I just got a deal this week. I got a deal on Monday. We'll make over $50,000 from a driving for dollars.
There you go. Yeah.
I mean, it's a rough house. I mean, this is definitely a driving for dollars house. Right. Listen, if you guys need a cheat sheet on driving for dollars, it's TTP Insider. We have the whole thing to look for. We have some videos on what that looks like, but really we have a checklist of kind of what you want to look for the best properties to add to your driving for dollars list. Listen, guys, I'm bringing Matt on here because it is crucial that you build your driving for dollars list. I can't tell you how many conversations. I have probably 3 or 4. I've had 3 or 4 conversations. It's now 25 after 10 here. I've had like 3 or 4 conversations this morning on what list should I be going after, what should be happening. I am telling you, it's a no-brainer. People have to build their driving for dollars list. And before we get into real question, sorry, Jesse, I know that I was prompting, but virtual driving for dollars, because a lot of people are working in virtual markets. A lot of people don't have the time to go out and drive all over their town and hit the button and add to it. So we put out videos. It was actually Jesse who used to do it. Jesse did this like 3 or 4 years ago. When him and Mike were doing deals on wholesale, they got their first deal from Google Maps, going on Google Maps, getting the addresses from Google Maps and getting that info. But you guys made it easy. You just click a button and it goes right through.
Yeah, like clicking for dollars.
You've got it. It's clicking for dollars.
Yeah. And to answer Mike's question though about like what else we should be thinking about in that free trial, I know he was basically living in the app. He got that deal by going to a haircut appointment and just seeing this on this property like that. So I'd say a large marketing mix, trying different things from that perspective, because certain people are going to answer to certain outreach more effectively. Being able to be in that mindset and be able to be always on in terms of looking for opportunities there. And then another example, like Rita Grimes was just on our success story too. She
Remember
did.
Rita? Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. She did $200,000 in driving for dollars fees in the first half of 2021 when we talked to her.
Well,
Look at the polites.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean,
so being able to do that, like people that are upping their game like that, they are using that marketing mix and they're looking in creative spots. Like for her, she talked about they would go in neighborhoods that you wouldn't necessarily think of as a distressed area. And find little things like she said there was siding falling off a garage and added that one and that became a deal.
Right.
So I'd say that marketing mix and getting creative on where you're going. both of those things we're seeing work really well right now.
If you like that video, hit that subscribe button. We come out with new videos every single day. And if you want your questions answered, like you and I, one-on-one, make sure that you join us for the live show every single Wednesday. I will see you there.